Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. I just read that the US mainstream media has called Joe Biden to be the next president of the United States. So in this they did what they initially said, that it is the media that declares who is president. And the European media, and in this case I mean especially the German news media, because I'm following that also, they were following suit very closely, and they also declared now that Joe Biden is the elected president now. Of course, they do not report on any of the details, on any of the whistleblowers, on any of the irregularities, on any of the people that came forth and said, look, we were supposed to watch the polls, we were supposed to observe the counting process in various Democrat-controlled swing states or states where the race was tied. They don't report about that at all. And in this sense, it is really the media that declares the president, because if the media controls what 99% of the people know, then they can declare whoever they want president. So in today's video, I want to tell you what happened in the meantime. I want to especially tell you how the German media reacted, and then what I think about all that. But before we start, I want to thank all my subscribers and my supporters once again. If you like this material, like, share and subscribe. If you want to support my channel, you can do so directly via PayPal or via Patreon or Subscribestar. Alright, so according to the numbers that were reported from the vote counting, Pennsylvania, Arizona and Nevada were also called for Joe Biden. And that was enough for the media to assume that he would have more than the necessary 270 votes in the Electoral College. If these numbers that were reported are reflective of the actual votes is highly dubious in my opinion. It's highly questionable. As I said in previous videos, there were so many irregularities, so many people came forth. I mentioned, for example, that people from the GOP who were supposed to supervise and to watch the vote counting process in order to make sure that everything is regular and legitimate were actually not allowed to be there, not allowed to see the process. Then there was this curious case about these Sharpie pens, and who knows if that is a real legitimate reason that the voting machines would not read the ballots, but it should be checked in order to make sure that that was not a case of voter fraud, in the sense that you would make people use these pens in more Republican-leaning districts. But a lot of other things came to light since my last video. Then also a so-called computer glitch was reported from a Dominion voting systems counting machine or tabulator. This is a Canadian company that is linked to Nancy Pelosi actually, and they were not only used in Antrim County but in many other counties in Michigan and probably, I don't know, all over the United States in some districts or another. So I would say that any vote that was counted with these machines has to be manually checked now. If it is so easy for this machine to make a mistake, it would be just interesting for me to see if these glitches are actually going in both directions. That is what you would expect of a reading error. It should go into one direction in some cases and also in the other direction. So sometimes it should benefit Biden, sometimes it should benefit Trump. But I have a suspicion that that is not the case. And then it wouldn't be a glitch, then it would be deliberate interference. And maybe it was even programmed into the code. So all these districts should be manually recounted with vote watchers of both major parties present, of course. Then there is a report that the FBI is now actually investigating in Michigan after a Detroit city worker came out and said that he was asked to backdate ballots. That means they were received after the 3rd, and that would be too late. So they were asked to change the date that these ballots were received, which is of course illegal. The whistleblower claims that this directive came from both city and state employees. It was confirmed that this is actually an ongoing investigation. However, the media is still saying that Trump just says that there were irregularities without providing any evidence. Well, this is not a scientific proof and it was not decided by a court yet or something, but this is at least evidence. This is at least reason for an investigation. This is something that you could start an investigation over, and it has started already. So yes, it's not proven yet, but there is evidence that must be considered. If that is not evidence, then what is? Alright, so let's look at what the German news media is making out of all this. As you know, especially Der Spiegel is very notorious for working together with CNN, and in fact many German news outlets take CNN directly as a source here. So they're not even trying to do actual journalism, they're not even trying to follow the story, to follow these leads, to make sure that they understand what is actually going on. No, they're just taking the narrative and taking the story directly from CNN. And that while they are paying for correspondents in the US. Think about that, how hilarious that is. Why do you even pay a correspondent from New York or Washington when all you have to do is just translate a CNN story? And once again, just like the US mainstream media, they are not conducting any research, they're not doing journalism without verifying, without checking. They are just claiming that everything that Trump says is not true, everything that the right says is not true. They don't even investigate, they don't look at it, they just claim to know exactly that these allegations are wrong without even trying to disprove anything or to look at it. And that makes me very suspicious, but this is not surprising, of course. Just remember that Klaas Relotius was working for Der Spiegel and he was lying systematically about Donald Trump and the USA. He also received an award from CNN, of course. Klaas Relotius was just the tip of the iceberg, of course. The practices that he used are widespread in the German mainstream media. Just imagine if any of these allegations or any of these witness statements would be made during or after an election in, let's say, Poland or Hungary or Brazil. The media in the West would be all over these stories and they would try to get interviews with these people who saw something. They would try to investigate. They would try to find and dig up as much dirt as they possibly can. But here, nothing to see, move along. This is showing clearly once again that these are activist journalists. If they want to hurt somebody, yeah, then they look for dirt. If they want to promote and push somebody, then they just censor everything about the story. If there is the danger of a possible scandal or an uncomfortable truth coming to light. Alright, so here are some examples. You see, they once used the cover story where Trump was kind of decapitating the Statue of Liberty. Well, now they show that Biden is stepping on a chair and putting this head back on the Statue of Liberty. Very funny. I guess the world will soon find out how much liberty we will have under Harris Biden. And they say that the world is celebrating Joe Biden. And people are celebrating in the streets, yes. I wonder if they're still celebrating when US troops will go to the Middle East again. And when the working class and the middle class in the USA will be reduced to serfdom. But for now, they just want to focus on these colorful people all dancing and celebrating and being happy that they have finally been relieved. And the bad orange man has been beaten, even though he doesn't want to concede defeat. Which I can understand totally. I mean, if you heard about all these things, wouldn't you just try to figure out that you actually lost before you concede defeat? I would certainly want to do so, especially when that much is on stake. So at the moment, it looks like Biden is really going to be the president. Everyone is sure of that. Even Fox News declared him the victor now. Everyone is congratulating, even Angela Merkel did. But something tells me that this thing is far from over. Even if the investigations and the lawsuits that will follow next week will not cause Donald Trump to get another term, at least it will bring to light a lot of suspicious things, I'm sure. And maybe it will demonstrate to us just how crooked and how corrupt they actually are, when even with the evidence that will probably be presented, they would still insist on Biden being the president. He will probably not be seen as a legitimate president by many people in the US, but also outside of the US. It will be very hard also to tell other countries to respect democratic standards when it is very obvious to the whole world that he himself got president by using these underhanded techniques that we know from third world countries. But I don't think that this is what they want to do in the first place. I mean, when they got rid of Gaddafi, it wasn't because of democratic standards or because of free elections. So I really wonder if this policy of regime change and interventionism will come back. I think it probably will, because Biden was the vice president under Obama, and that is pretty much what the Obama administration did. They caused a lot of mayhem and a lot of destruction all around the world. They were absolutely no different than the Bush administration here. Alright, so that was it from my side. I just wanted to comment on the recent developments in the United States and what the German news media had to say about this and how they were framing this whole affair. Let me know down below in the comment section what you think about that and how you think it will go on from here. Especially if you are in the United States, I hope that you remain calm and that you are not too beat down about this thing. You survived 8 years of Obama, and I am also still alive, even though I had to suffer under Angela Merkel for a long time. So when I see the USA right now, I see millions of people who clearly do not want interventionism anymore, who clearly want healthy families, a strong industrial sector with manufacturing, and who are robust and stable anti-communists. And if the Americans who think like that, who have these convictions, if they stand together and watch out for each other, I think they will be fine. So long, take care, servus, Kameraden.